So first see what actually this superconduct superconductor. So in this lecture, we will look at what are superconductors, why they are called as superconductors, what is the property called superconductivity, and what are the general properties of superconductors, and how to know that these are the properties shown by the superconductors. We will see some experimental evidences. So those are called experimental observations of superconductors, which are nothing but general properties of superconductors. We also see another important effect called Meissner's effect, which is a magnetic levitation process in which the magnet can be made to float in the air. That is called Meissner's effect, where most of the super fast magnetic levitation trains use this effect. Now we will look at electrical conductivity. So we know that generally the materials are generally classified into conductors, insulators, semiconductors. You know it already. The electrical conductivity of a material depends on how many free electrons are there in its outermost electrons. So a substance may be a conductor or maybe a insulator or maybe a semiconductor based on the number of free electrons that are available. And we also have seen already that this conductivity depends on the energy band gap, which we have already discussed in Kronig-Penney model. Now, actually, if you look at the resistivity or conductivity of materials, there is a huge change of conductivity of materials. Suppose, say, I now take here the different conductivities of various materials. Now, I suppose that sigma is the conductivity. You know the unit for sigma conductivity is ohm, centimeter or meter inverse. So, but I'll take here as a meter inverse something, okay. So I'll write here centimeter inverse. So I'm just erasing it, I'll write it again. So now I'm taking sigma. Sigma is electrical conductivity I'm taking, whose unit is here I'm taking either ohms meter inverse or ohm centimeter inverse I'm taking like this. Now if I consider different materials, suppose I consider sand. Sand is not, or maybe a part of it as a quartz. Quartz is a material whose conductivity is very very low, as you know it. So this conductivity of this quartz may be in the order of 10 to the power minus 17, okay, ohm centimeter verse, very small. Or if I take another material like daily salt, that is table salt, NaCl, so generally we use it, its conductivity is also very small, maybe around 10 to the power minus 14 ohm centimeter inverse. Likewise, if I take known best uh, non-conductor as a glass, if I take it, this glass may be having a conductivity around 10 to the power minus 8, which is again very very small value. And also I take, suppose say we have used GaAs, where GaAs is the compound semiconductor used for making optoelectronic devices like lasers and LEDs. And its conductivity is not good, that much good. It is maybe around 10 to the power minus 6 ohm per centimeter inverse. Or if I take generally use semiconductor silicon, and its conductivity will be around 10 to the power minus 3. And if I take germanium, which is also most used semiconductor, it may have around 10 to the power minus 1 or so. These are roughly values I'm giving. And if I take a best conductor, maybe Ag, that is silver, okay, and it will have a conductivity 10 to the power plus 8. So therefore, okay, so now we look at this, the conductivity of materials changes from a very very low value to maybe 10 to the power plus 8 and so very high. there is a range, but nowhere the resistivity is 0 or conductivity is infinity. That is, you know that rho is generally is equal to 1 by sigma or vice versa. So there is a material, or there are some materials which will show at very low temperature, maybe close to absolute zero, that their resistivity falls almost to zero. So if the resistivity is falling to zero, means conductivity is very high. Therefore, there are certain materials which generally show these characteristics at almost liquid helium temperature. Liquid helium temperature means that you can make the gases into liquids. I have liquid nitrogen, liquid oxygen, liquid say helium, something like that, at sub Kelvin scales. Sub Kelvin scales in the means that maybe around 4.2 K. It's very small. 4.2 K means that if you go into the centigrade, you have to see with a minus sign. Okay, if I substitute this and subtract the 4.2, you will get around okay, to minus 260 something, 68. So thereby, at very low temperatures, there is a possibility of having the electrical conductivity raising to higher value or resistivity falling almost practically to zero. But in physics, there is no zero. Remember, no property will go to zero mostly. Okay, you may approximately go to zero. That means the resistance may fall maybe equal to 10 to the power minus 5 ohms or minus 10 ohms, something like that. It's very small. So in some cases, you can take this almost as a zero resistance. Hence, the electrical conductivity plays an important role in using the materials for different applications. If generally the conductivity is good, we use for electrical conductors like aluminum, silver, okay, copper, etc. If their conductivity is very poor, we use them as insulators or dielectric materials like quartz, glass, etc. If they are having their conductivities are intermediate, then we can call them as semiconductors. But now we look at why the electrical conductivity will not come down to zero when the temperature is reduced to zero slowly and gradually from room temperature for various materials. So no material will show this. But however, you can see that here, when some of the scientists like Camerlin Owens, they have done an experiment on liquefaction of gas. So when they are doing liquefaction of helium, they found that the resistivity of mercury, Hg, is dropped down to zero when the temperature is around 4.2 K. So once the temperature is more than 4.2 K, the mercury has shown its own resistance. So therefore, we say that now, okay, the resistivity showing zero below a certain temperature is most important. Above that temperature, they will be just normal materials. So the material which shows zero resistivity at a specified temperature and below it, okay, they are called superconductors. So now see, it is minus 269.78 is the temperature below which mercury can be taken as a superconductor. But this depends on various factors. So to understand this, we look at now the concepts of the resistance versus temperature. Now look at these curves. I am taking on this the resistivity rho on y-axis and temperature on this. If I take any normal metal or any substance, their conductivity simply goes on decreasing as the temperature is decreased, and it becomes certain value but not zero. You see, it will not become zero. As it is not becoming zero, that means at 0K, if I take 0K here, okay, this is in Kelvin I am taking, then the resistance is not zero for normal metals. It is showing some value of resistance. Finite resistance will be there in metals even though the temperature is decreased to 0K. This is because The resistance of materials arises due to many reasons. One, the lattice atoms. That means when electron is moving within the lattice, it may collide with the lattice atoms, and this collisions reduces the motion of the electrons, hence there is a resistance. Similarly, we have seen in the earlier classes that the material consists of impurities. When there is an impurity or a point effect, when electron is going like there, it may be scattered, and this scattering may also possible to give a resistance to the flow of electrons. And we have also seen that there are several types of defects like grain boundaries, imperfections, dislocations, and all these imperfections will give rise to resistance. When resistance is due to the intrinsic properties of materials like lattice atoms, impurities, you cannot change those properties, and materials will show the resistance properties. And these existence of lattice impurities and lattice defects will be there even at 0K. Therefore, the resistivity will not become 0. In some cases, thermal vibrations also may be responsible for giving resistance. More the thermal vibrations, more the chaotic motion, or more is the random motion, thereby the resistance increases. So there are several reasons for resistance, and these reasons, especially the existence of impurities, will give rise to a resistivity non-zero at 0 Kelvin. This is given by Mentesian law, and Mentesian law has shown that normal metals will not have zero resistors at 0K, and thereby there is a broad conclusion that the resistivity will not become 0. But when Camillin Wonds have done his experiment based on this, they found that for mercury, I'm taking Hg mercury, when they did the conductivity studies, they found that at a certain up to certain temperature, the resistivity gradually decreased, and at a particular temperature, the resistivity fall exactly to 0. Okay? At a particular temperature. The temperature at which the resistivity becomes 0 is called critical temperature. Hc is called critical temperature or called transition temperature, meaning that the material will be a superconductor whose resistivity is 0 in this region and it is normal in this region. It means once the material is below Tc, then it shows superconducting nature of zero resistivity. Therefore, superconductivity is simply the phenomenon of showing zero resistivity below a certain temperature. And this certain temperature is very low temperature, maybe around 10K, 20K, something like that. But what is the use that you should have a material at 20K, means negative temperatures in degree centigrade? But theoretically speaking, there is a possibility that you can make any of the material, or not any of the material can be made into superconducting state at any given temperature, but practically it is not possible. Only few elements and compounds have shown this superconductivity. Now therefore there is a lot of research is going on in around the world, including India, to find out superconductors at least at room temperature or slightly below room temperature. So far we have high temperature superconductors maybe around 135 K and slightly above it. But recent research papers, they have found that there is a possibility of having superconductors at 190 K and at 210 K also, which is very large. But most of the pure materials will give you a superconductivity property at maybe less than 10 K. Okay. So therefore, superconductivity is the phenomenon of showing zero resistivity at a temperature called critical, at a temperature below 1, and the temperature is called critical temperature. And the critical temperature is not constant. It is different for different materials. And the property of showing zero resistivity below critical temperature Tc is called superconductivity, and the material showing those such property is called superconductor. Okay. Now, if you see this diagram for a helium, I will see that this is the normal state up to this, and the resistivity has suddenly fallen here, and resistivity is 10 to the power minus 5 at this value of 4.2 K. So 4.2 K below this is superconducting state, and we say this is normal state. I don't say that is normal conducting state, because okay, you should know that a non-conductor can also become superconductor. Therefore, you cannot call it as a normal conducting state. It may be normal state. If it is a dielectric material or insulating material, it may be an insulating state. But once the temperature is reduced for that material below a critical value, it may become superconducting state. Therefore, we have normal state. Normal state means whatever the state the material is there, that state is called normal state, and below Tc we call it as superconducting state. So, but you see, the superconducting temperature Tc is not constant even for a given material. So it may be here, it may be here, it may be here, because the given material may contain impurities. Therefore, it may become superconductor here, or maybe here, or maybe here. Therefore, we have a slightly band of superconductors. The slight band of superconductors, okay, will become that you don't have a particular Tc exactly for a given material. So Udaybani is asking a question, how a non-conductor becomes superconductors. Mostly high temperature superconductors, which we have written, the superconductors which are showing superconducting property greater than 70 K, okay, are called high temperature superconductors. Here I am taking 70 K as a benchmark, because at 70 K liquid nitrogen is available, and so that you can reach that temperature very easily. To reach 4.2 K it's very difficult, and having liquid helium is also very difficult. And maintaining 4.2 K is highly difficult. But having liquid nitrogen at 70 K is very easy, and therefore all those superconductors which showing superconducting property at 70 K are called high temperature superconductors. Most of the high temperature superconductors are non-conductors, and most of the best conductors like gold, silver, they are not superconductors. So why? To know this, you should know the important aspect of why the materials will become superconductors, or when they'll become superconductors, or when they show superconductivity. So the reason for superconductivity is the interaction between the electron and the lattice. If the electron and the lattice has a good exchange and an interaction, then a strong interaction between the lattice and the electrons, such materials will become superconductors. Where in case of our normal metals like silver, the interaction between the lattice and the electrons is not that much great. Therefore, they will not be showing superconductivity. In some non-conductors like ceramic materials, ceramic materials are the generally used for making floor tiles. Tile materials are ceramic. Some of the bowls you use for making, okay, they are ceramic. So ceramic is a bad conductor, we know it. These bad conductors, but at lower temperature, will have good lattice electron interaction, and therefore due to that strong lattice electron interaction, they show superconductivity. So the superconductivity is due to superconducting electrons, not normal electrons. Thereby the non-conductors also will show superconductivity. Now we look at general properties of superconductors. The general properties of superconductors is also called as the experimental observations. Experimental observations of superconductors. All these experimental observations are practically verified at various superconducting labs, including MIT, IBM, and so other labs, including CERN, etc. Now we'll see the first property. I will list out here 10 different general properties, but still there are many. So only important general properties or experimental observations I am just giving you a glance of it. Every superconductor will have zero electrical resistivity, and zero electrical resistivity is shown by a superconductor below a critical temperature. So below a critical temperature before 0K, that means no need to go to 0K. So the resistivity falls down to 0. That a temperature where a material moves from normal state to superconducting state, it is taking a transition. Hence we call it as a transition temperature, or we call it as critical temperature. So every superconductor will have a TC. If you decrease the temperature to higher value to lower value, at certain temperature it becomes superconductor below that. If you increase the temperature, once it reach the TC value, it becomes normal state. Therefore, it is a reversible process. So once you can make the material superconducting state as long as you want by keeping the temperature below TC value. If you increase it, then the material goes to normal state. So, and this TC is not unique for even a given material. It changes because of isotopic mass, or maybe any changes that are there in the material having impurities and so. So therefore, experimentally it was observed that, okay, the resistance of the superconductors below TC may be less than 10 to the power minus 5 ohms. It's very, very small. And this can be taken as a practically zero resistance. And you can calculate this. You can see, if you take a pure metal and its resistivity changes like this, at 0K, it is not zero. Resistivity is not zero. Okay. But if you take impure one, because of impurities, resistivity is higher. Because impurities, lattice impurities or defects, they will give you higher resistance. Therefore, it is not 0K also, resistivity is not. But for superconductors, there is a transition at a certain stage. And strictly speaking, if I have only one TC, it should be sharp like this. No, it is having a small curve like this. Therefore, we cannot say that we have exactly one TC. But average value of TC will be given for many superconductors. This is the first property, is zero resistivity. The second experimental is that every superconductor will have a critical transition temperature. So if you cool the material below that, only you have zero resistivity and superconductor. If it is above that, it is a normal, in a normal state. Also remember that best conductors like silver is not a superconductor, but non-conductors like ceramic materials can also show. It was found that there are almost 20 to 30 metals or elements in the periodic table that show the superconducting property when they are cooled below their respective transition temperatures, are like zinc, okay, aluminum, lead, Hg. If you cool them, tin, niobium, all these, when you take them in pure form, they will become superconductors at a temperature less than 10K. Okay, so we have niobium is one of the example of pure form. It is a superconductor. Aluminum is also a superconductor, and if you take Hg is also a superconductor, and if you take Zn also will become superconductor. And you can take such materials, many materials, elements, only elements, okay, in a periodic table up to 30, they will show the effects of lead. Is also, it is not a very good conductor, but lead is a superconductor at 7.2K. It shows 7.2K the superconductivity. 10K niobium shows. Hg shows at 4.2K. So we'll see the list of some of the elements and their transition temperatures. So the value of Tc is sensitive to purity of the substance, metallurgical imperfections, that is defects, etc. So there we have a width of transition temperatures. So most value we will quote here. Okay. Now the third property is persistence of currents. What do you mean by persistence of currents? Persistence is a property of okay, continuing some time even after some removal. So you may have already experienced this. The experienced this means that when you are watching a television, okay, when you see the television, even you switch off the television, there will be a ghost image, okay, in the on the screen even after switching off. So when you switch off the screen, you can see some image and it will be casted there for few seconds. So that is called as persistence. So it is was found in superconductors that once you send a current in a superconducting ring, that current will go on circulating in the ring without decrement, even you remove the source. Look at this. What is this? I am taking now here a superconducting material or a wire. This is superconducting wire. I am making as a coil. This is a superconducting coil, and I take something like a closed coil, which we call it as a solenoid. I take a solenoid like this. This is a solenoid. Now I take here a transformer and I apply some voltage here, and this is a transformer and they are connected. If you pass current through the transformer, and the current will be induced in the coil, and this coil is now made by superconductor. Now after once you enter the current in the superconducting ring or superconducting coil, this is the superconducting, once you have entered the current by the external supply, and that we are not directly connecting, we are inducing the current into superconducting coil or superconducting ring. So once the current I is induced in it, as the resistance of the superconductor is practically zero, the current flows in it without any loss, because there is no ohmic loss, there is no other losses because it's already at lower temperature, and there are no eddy current losses, and as there are no losses, current goes on moving in the ring, okay, without any decay. Now what I'll do is I'll remove this. So I have induced the current in the ring. Once the current is induced and I remove this, that means excitation source I am removing it. If I remove the excitation source, the current whatever I have induced in it will be continuing in it, because there is no resistance to this. As I remove this, the introduced current by induction in the coil continues to flow forever. That means even after removal of the excitation transformer, the current continues in the circuit, and this current which goes on traveling without decrement in its magnitude for longer time without any external source, or even after removal of the excitation source, it is called as persistence current. And persistence current is generally given and can be calculated by a formula, and that formula is this. That is, the current IT at any time is equal to current I0. I0 is the initial current we have induced in it by external source. I have removed the external source. E minus RT by L, where how long the current goes flowing into the superconducting ring is the time t, where R is the conductance of the superconducting ring. Okay, superconducting, and the time that was estimated by scientists that once you enter some current into the superconducting ring by induction, they estimated, they cannot directly measure the small resistance R, therefore indirectly you can measure R value. So they have introduced the current into the ring, and they calculated theoretically that the current in the ring, even after removal of the transformer external source, goes on flowing in it maybe around 10 to the power 5 years, because resistance is 0. So the estimated, practically 10 to the power 5 years, nobody can do a practical and see it. So MIT scientists, they have done an experiment to find out how much time the strength of the current I0 will not decrease once it is entered into superconductor, and they found almost 2 years the strength of the current remains the same in the superconducting ring without any change. That is called as persistence of currents. Now we will look at the next property of superconductors, which is called critical magnetic field. We have seen that there is a critical temperature below which only it shows superconducting nature. Similarly, if you apply a magnetic field externally, the external magnetic field will destroy the superconductor. Therefore, whatever the critical temperature Tc we have defined, that is the critical temperature of the material when no external electric field is applied. So if you apply external magnetic field, so Tc, the value which we have quoted above, is no external magnetic field. If you apply external magnetic field, then the superconductivity will be destroyed if the applied field is more than certain value. Therefore, the superconductor shows superconductivity only below a certain magnetic field. If the magnetic field is more than that, then the superconductivity is destroyed, even though the material is below Tc. Okay, so therefore that magnetic field which destroys the superconductivity is called critical magnetic field, and it is shown by Hc. But if I am drawing a curve for different superconductor to show it by taking Hc on this and a T on x-axis. For aluminum, okay, at 1.2 K, if you apply below 1.19, it is superconductor. If it is above it, it is a superconductor, even though it is below it. If I take Hg, mercury 4.2, if you take lead 7.2, approximately this one. That means if I take this point, suppose say, okay, this point if I want to make it, here if applied field Hc is 6.5, even at 0 K it is not superconductor. If I take this point and drop a current it, okay, then if 0 field is there here, then this is the temperature at which it shows superconductivity. If I am increasing the field up to this, then the lead superconductivity is very less. That means increasing fields, okay, decreases the superconducting critical temperature. Therefore, the superconductivity is also related to external magnetic field, and this relation between the external field is given by the Hc. Hc is the field at any temperature, given temperature. You can calculate if you know field at 0 temperature. See, this is the field 0 temperature. This is the field you can apply. This is Hc0. This is the field at Hc0. And if you want to calculate Hc at any temperature, this is the temperature I'll take it, and corresponding Hc I can see from here. So this is Hc is the critical magnetic field at 0 temperature. Okay, and it is 1 minus T by Tc. So whatever the T you want to calculate Hc, that T should be here. Whereas Tc is the critical temperature of the given superconductor. That means for lead, Tc is 7.17. At 0K, the field at 0K is 1.19, suppose. And thereby at any other temperature, you can calculate using this. And this is one of the most important relations to find out the various magnetic fields when you change the applied external field, whether it is a superconductor or not. So it is useful in solving many problems. Next, we look at critical current density. Similarly, similar to critical critical temperature and a critical magnetic field, Tc and Hc, there is a critical current also is there for a semiconductor, for a superconductor. Now I take, this is the superconducting material, the superconducting, and current is going like this. This is superconductor. You know that when current is passed through superconducting or superconducting wire, if I is passed through it, it creates magnetic field H. So if I am increasing the current, the magnetic field created in the superconductor ring also increases. If I still increase the current, then the magnetic field also increases. But still it is, I say T, the temperature is below Tc. So that means superconductor is kept below Tc only, but I am increasing the current in the superconductor. If I increase the superconductor current below, okay, I am increasing somewhere value, then Hc also increases. If I still increase the value of I, this H increases and this H now will become equal to Hc. That is critical magnetic field. So therefore, this current which is passing through the superconducting wire is able to create a magnetic field equal to its critical field. Therefore, superconductivity is destroyed. That means there is a limit how much current or current density that can be passed through a superconductor. If you pass higher and higher currents, at certain value of the current, the magnetic field produced in the superconductor is greater than the critical field Hc. Therefore, the Hc created so will be destroying the superconductor. Therefore, you cannot go on increasing the current through the superconductor. There is a limit. That limit is called IC, where IC is called critical current and JC is called critical current density, which is equal to IC by A, where A is the area of the superconducting wire. So hence we have a relation between the superconductor and the current that can be possible, which is given by Silsby, and according to Silsby, the critical current that can be passed through a superconductor is limited to this only. If you are increasing the IC value, it goes beyond the value of Hc, and thereby the superconductor loses its property. Similarly, there is a Hc. So this I have divided by pi r square. So because Jc is simply IC by A, and here you remember that R is the radius of the wire, superconducting wire. So I get IC is 2 pi r Hc I have here, and area of the wire for a circular diameter is pi r square. So if I cancel this, I'll get this. So, and the relation between the current density at any temperature is equal to current density at 0 and multiplied by Tc minus T by Tc. By using this, you can calculate the current density at a given temperature. But you remember, R is the radius of the superconducting wire, and I am taking wire like this, and this wire will have a diameter D, and this is the D, and I take D by 2, and that is equal to R. So this is the next important property of any superconducting material. Then we will look at the next one called pressure. It was observed that as the pressure is increased, the Tc value decreases. So therefore, as the pressure is applied more and more, Tc value is directly proportional to pressure. But you cannot increase the pressure more and more to decrease the value of C or to decrease it, because higher the pressure you're applying, there is a more possibility for the superconductor to break. Hence, there is a limit on the pressure that can be applied on a superconductor. And next property is entropy. So you know that entropy is a parameter which describes orderly and disorderliness of a material. So it was shown by the experiments that the entropy of a superconducting state is less than that of normal state. Means that normal state is more random, disordered state, whereas the superconducting state is more ordered state. As the superconducting state is more ordered state, its entropy is less. So the next one, we will see energy gap for a superconductor. Superconductors will show some energy gap delta, which is slightly different from the energy gap that we have seen in semiconductors and band theories. In band theory, insulators and semiconductor, if there exists a energy band gap, there is no conduction, or conduction will be restricted by the band gap. But here, even though there is a band gap between the superconducting state and its lowest energy state and ground state, there is no change of conductivity. It shows zero resistance. So that we call it as energy gap. Therefore, there exists an energy gap in the superconducting state between the lowest excited state and ground state. And that can be seen as sudden jump in the specific heat. That means if you draw a graph between temperature T or say, okay, and specific heat C, you will get specific heat comes and there is a sudden jump will be there, something like this. And thereby you can say that the energy gap of a superconductor is important. You can calculate it and it can be used for many other aspects also, and that is given by this formula, where B is a constant, Kb is the Boltzmann constant, and Tc is the critical temperature. Okay, so now we will move on to the next one, isotopic. It is a most important effect, and which says that you know that elements are available in different atomic say masses, and that is called isotope. Iso means same, okay, tope means having mass number. If I have same mass number for a given one, but the same element can be available in different masses, and they are called isotopes. And it was found that the critical temperature is inversely proportional to isotopic mass. So the relation between the isotopic mass m and Tc, that is critical temperature, is given by okay, m to the power Tc is equal to constant, where alpha is a constant whose value will change from superconductor to superconductor, but it was found that for most of the metallic semiconductor it is constant and it is equal to 0.5. So therefore we have isotopic mass. Suppose I have isotopic mass m1 and the corresponding Tc is, suppose say, Tc1. I have for the same metal, I have isotopic mass m2, and when the isotope mass is changed, its critical temperature also changes. Thereby I can write m1 to the power alpha, okay, is or we say I can write instead of alpha the value of 0.5 here, because we know that for many of the superconductors I can take alpha constant as 0.5 or 1/2 into Tc is equal to constant. That means this must be equal to m2 to the 0.5, okay, to the power 0.5 into Tc2 I can write. Thereby you can solve many problems to calculate the critical temperature of various isotopes of the same element, because you know that elements are available in different isotopic values. Next we'll see another important equation, that is same equation I'm writing here, m power half, or you can write it as square root this, you can write. Now we will go to the next one, which is a most important effect called Meissner's effect. So this Meissner's effect, you look at this now. I have taken a superconductor This is a superconductor I have taken, and this superconductor is now at a temperature greater than Tc. That means it is not in superconducting state. So as it is not superconducting state, I am now allowing an external field to pass through the superconductor. So this is the field B I have applied. External field we have applied, magnetic field. So when the superconductor is not in the superconducting state, meaning that it is about Tc, then the magnetic flux lines will go through it and pass through it. They penetrate into the interior parts of the superconductor. Just like this, they'll go. So the penetration of magnetic flux into the superconductor happens if it is above Tc. Now slowly I decrease the temperature so that the superconductor is at a temperature less than Tc. See this. When the superconductor is at less than Tc, it is in superconducting state. When it is in superconducting state, whatever the magnetic flux lines that are coming, they will be expelled by the superconductor. They go away from the superconductor and they cannot pass into the superconductor material. So it was observed that the superconductor in superconducting state excludes the magnetic flux lines from its interior part of it, and they go out of the superconductor. As they are going out of the superconductor like this, we say that magnetic flux was excluded by the superconductor. As the superconductor excludes the magnetic field below Tc only, that effect is called Meissner's effect. So I am just repeating, Meissner's effect is the process of expulsion of magnetic flux lines from the interior of a bulk superconductor. I'm not talking about thin films, it's a bulk superconductor. So a bulk superconductor expels magnetic flux lines from its interior of the substance, and that expulsion of magnetic flux is called Meissner's effect. So a bulk superconductor expels, that expulsion of magnetic flux lines, we call it as Meissner's effect. This Meissner's effect, how I am getting? There are two important questions for this. One question is that, is the expulsion of magnetic flux is because of zero resistivity shown by the superconductor, or because of expulsion of magnetic field the resistance is zero? So can you answer, anyone? The question is something like this. Question is, the expulsion of magnetic field, is it due to the zero resistivity property of the superconductor, or zero resistivity of the superconductor is because of expulsion of magnetic flux? So which one is true? We have to see it. So I write some equations here to show what is the relation between the expulsion of magnetic flux and the zero resistivity. So it actually shows that superconductor is a diamagnet. We know that diamagnet is a magnetic material which opposes the external field. Therefore, the superconductor in superconducting state is expelling the magnetic flux, means it is a diamagnet. Hence, Meissner's effect is concluded that superconductors are best perfect diamagnets. But how do you say whether it is a diamagnet or not? The magnetic substances are classified based on the chi, which called as susceptibility. This susceptibility we define it by magnetization M by H. If this susceptibility is negative and very small, then it is a diamagnet. If it is positive and small, it's a paramagnet. That we will see in magnetic materials. So for superconductor, we say that the susceptibility, magnetic susceptibility, I'm writing M because we have electrical susceptibility also. The magnetic susceptibility M is equal to minus M by H. And for diamagnetic materials, it is negative. Diamagnetic materials negative, and it should be small, very small. Then only we call it as a diamagnet. So classification is like this. Now we have to show that the superconductor will have diamagnetic material as negative susceptibility and its value is very small. So to do this, I am deriving one or two equations here. So, but you see, superconductor expels the magnetic field from its interior. That means if I take here the superconductor like this is the magnetic lines are expelled by it. That means there is no magnetic field inside it. Therefore, B inside it must be 0 because it has completely expelled magnetic flux from its interior part of it. So, this expulsion of magnetic flux and showing zero resistivity by a superconductor, two independent properties. They are not dependent on each other. Therefore, every superconductor shows two independent properties. Okay, so here I have written are dependent. No, I should write they are independent. Here they are independent properties, not dependent. They are independent properties. That means exclusion of magnetic flux is not okay based on zero resistivity, and zero resistivity is not because of expulsion of magnetic field. So we will now see the relation between this for this class. So Meissner's effect, we have seen it. So the magnetic flux inside a substance when it is get magnetized, and H is the magnetizing field we are applying. This is the field we are applying it, and we are keeping a material here and it gets magnetized, and this getting magnetized is called magnetization M. This is the field H applied, and this is a magnetic induction is B. B is the magnetic induction. And suppose say mu naught is the permeability of free space. Then the relation between B, H and M is B is equal to mu naught plus HM, where M is the magnetization, mu is the permittivity of free space. But inside a superconductor, if I take a superconductor, in the superconductor, when it is kept in external field, they go out of it and they cannot go into the field. Therefore, here B is equal to 0. So therefore, you substitute this B is equal to 0 in this. If I substitute it, I'll get H plus M is equal to 0 because the susceptibility is not 0. Or I write H equal to minus M. But I'll write, okay, H by M. If I take H other side, it's minus 1 I'll get. So susceptibility of a magnetic material or a superconductor is negative and exactly equal to 1. Okay, means that superconductor is a perfect diamagnet. So therefore, Meissner's effect will tell you that the susceptibility of a superconductor below its DC is exactly negative and equal to 1. So minus 1. Therefore, superconductors show perfect diamagnetism. So superconductors, because being diamagnetism, they'll expel the magnetic flux from their interior, because diamagnetic materials will always oppose the external magnetic field. This opposition of a magnetic field, external magnetic field, is because of the surface currents that are available on the superconductor, and that makes them to expel it. So here superconductors are perfect diamagnets. So I stop here, and if you have any questions you can ask me, and in the next class we continue this Meissner's effect to show that 0 B inside a superconductor and resistivity 0 for a superconductor are two independent properties. And those who are having any doubts, they are now welcome to ask, and we will see what are the possible questions and possible answers for the today's class. Yes, anybody who are having uh, doubts, you please ask me, or you type me, you can, I'll give you the possible answers.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, in this case, when we are proving that it is a diamagnetic material,
Yes.
we are taking superconducting state magnetic field is excluded from the interior, so B equal to 0.
Yes, correct.
We are considering there that already it is a diamagnetic and we are taking the B equals to 0, no, sir.
No, no, we are not taking considering when T is greater than Tc, that is above Tc, we have taken the magnet. Okay, that is superconducting material, and we don't know what type of material it is. When I am decreasing the temperature, all of a sudden flux is excluded from it. So all of a sudden flux is excluded means that B should be 0. So we are not taking anything. We are we are just doing a practical by decreasing the magnetic field slowly. Okay. No, so by decreasing the temperature, magnetic field is there already. So when I am decreasing the temperature, once the temperature is equal or less than the critical temperature, then I have observed that it is expelled. Therefore, I came to a conclusion that in superconducting state, it is a diamagnet. Yes? Did you follow?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Next.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other? So what are the questions you can ask me? So whatever roll number 11 is not coming to the classes. Yeah. So those, yes, Prakash, do you have any question? Pratibha, Ropa Sri. Yes, Ropa, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Yeah. So mostly you should remember that the high temperature superconductors are ceramic materials instead of metals. Yeah, you ask me. Yes, Ropa, what do you want? So how, what about the timings, new timings, 9:40 onwards, is it good for you?
Sure.
Yeah. Sanaga, do you have any query?
No, sir.
Did you follow?
Yes, sir.
So what about 59 and 60 today? They are missing the class. Yeah, okay. I'll take leave from here this class because you have another class at 12:20 it seems. Okay.